Development Advisory Commission. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Chairman Kirkham.
Here.
Vice Chair Sharon. Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Hinckley. Here. Commissioner Lazur.
Here.
Commissioner Mandola. Here. Commissioner Sixton. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, let me see. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Steve, would you please do the honors?
Sure. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we got approval of the minutes, consideration of regular minutes of July 23rd, 2019. To review and approve. Everybody get a chance to read them over online or whatever? Any questions about the minutes or changes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. All right, next we got number 3. We got Economic Development Report from Gary Kellogg.
Call to the public?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. And I do have probably someone. The call to the public, anybody wishing to address the Economic Advisory Commission may do so without permission in advance. Actions taking a result of the public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or reschedule the matter for a future, at a later date. Anybody from the public? Call number 2? No? All right, we'll move on. Now we'll go to number 3. I'm sorry. I always skip that one for some reason because we never have anybody. All right, reports. Economic Development Report from Mr. Gary Kellogg.
Okay. Commissioner and members of the council, excuse me, not council, commission. First of all, I want to say to Commissioner Hinckley, congratulations on your Citizen of the Year award. And I'd like to take just a moment here, because has a busy day, so I promised I would let her go quickly, but I'd like to introduce Sylvia Schaefer. Many of you know her as a planner. Sylvia will be transitioning into economic development, and Sylvia will be specializing in commercial and retail, and she will also be the interface for the downtown merchants, etc. So we're really thrilled. Sylvia's had past experience with this, and so we made the offer yesterday to a replacement planner. We're just waiting on their comment back. Sylvia is also deeply involved with the planning and zoning update on legislation. So she's going to be wearing 2 hats for a few months. So we're just trying to.
Just 2?
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sylvia. Well earned.
I know you've heard from in the past.
Yes, we know each other from the past, and I'll tell you, Sylvia, go get it.
Thank you, Sylvia. Now you go back with that other hat on. All right, thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do is start out just a little bit and update you at the airport. I asked Steve Johnson, the airport manager, for an update on that side there. So the grant project through the Arizona Commerce and ADOT multimodal road group is underway, and I think Bennett will probably expound a little bit on this, but this was the grant that we applied for the update of those roads to get them into the county system. We're in terrible shape. So that is turning out to be a wonderful partnership now with the county. The remodel of the terminal is just about nearing. The fact is, it's just about at completion right now. The display case, which was donated to us from the Senior Citizen Center, which was vintage 40s, is now at the site. We did use a mover to deliver it because it's rather large and rather delicate glass. I'm happy to say everything arrived in one piece and not broken. The museum has approved the artifacts that we had selected out of their basement storage area. We took nothing from their current displays, and that will be to follow now. So the they're going through their inventory, giving us the guidelines. One of the things, commissioners, that we did assure them is that we would make sure that anything that had legs was safeguarded and was put inside the display cabinets. So really looking forward to it. There were a number of great artifacts that we were able to get out of the museum. Our next project will be the landscaping. We will begin to work with the Airport Commission on some designs, even the idea of moving the fence, et cetera, right in front of the terminal to make it much more inviting, both for pilots and for just people dining there. So if you haven't had a chance, go out and try the restaurant. They have a wonderful World War II menu. In the morning you have reveille. At lunch you have mess hall. You can have the belly gunner omelets, things like that. So they've really played into it. You'll hear big band music, and you'll also see a number of World War II videos that are being replayed on their TV. It's pretty neat, yes. Okay, on runway 321 grant project, the general services agreement, specific agreement, and the scope of work for the engineering of the project and the independent fee estimates are all completed and approved by the FAA and will be presented to the City Council for approval. Once okayed, the design will begin. Current estimates is that this grant offer will be in hand by spring or mid-year. Construction should start shortly after that. The total cost of that project is $2.6 million. A lot of this I really attribute it to Steve Johnson's relationship with the FAA. He has restored certainly our credibility with them, and it's worked out tremendously well. We continue to work with companies. The most current one on the aircraft side is a dismantling outfit from Southeast portion of the nation. They've expressed an interest in pursuing some aircraft out here to be dismantled. An airline from New Mexico is willing to sign a short-term agreement to re-engine a few airliners from this airport and then deliver them to Mexico airline service. We had an inaugural aviation day. It was conducted on September 18th at the airport. It was well received. Airport staff participated by transporting a group of high school students to 6 aviation businesses where the owners educated the youngsters regarding opportunities in the aviation world. Airport staff provided a report and conducted a telephone conference with the FAA representatives in Washington and Los Angeles and Phoenix. And this is regarding something, the reason I share it with you, it's been rather complicated. We had modelers out there, people that fly the model airplanes. And there was, as many of you know, a dispute between these two groups. And so this has grown into a rather large and very complicated thing with the FAA. And so we will meet again and have another phone call coming up to try to finally put this thing to bed on what the right things to do. Each week we try to remove a few more of the old and damaged trees, the ones that are really in trouble, certainly on Mojave Drive. And the Airfest plan continues. The event will happen on October 19th. A B-17 will be on site and give rides. With that, we authorized a contract to make sure that we had no crack issues in the tarmac in that whole front area. There were some rather large cracks, and we know that certainly in the future we're going to have to replace all of that pavement. But for now, we hired the same firm that the city uses, and they have a technique even for filling the larger cracks that will make sure things are safe. So that is underway as we speak. We also anticipate the ADOT grant, which was a surprise, and the money was made available, and so we jumped on it. It's an offer for $200,000 for a design of the taxiway Bravo, and so sometime in October, November, and the really nice part, the city's match on this is $20,000. So again, it was money that we saw available and jumped on it. Okay, the one thing I wanted to take a few minutes and update you on today was the branding and marketing that we have undertaken. I held my first meeting with Geo and Associates on September 18th. They came up about 4 or 5 days in advance, and they literally shopped Kingman and all the surrounding area. So by the time we sat down, they had done a number of observations. So this initial meeting was simply designed for them to gather information. With that, then we have electronically sent them every old piece of data that we had available about the downtown area. Okay, certainly for anything for in the way of marketing and some of the old pieces of things that had been done on the branding attempts. So they have all of that in hand. They are now reviewing that material and be setting a calendar for a timeline. Chairman, if I could, what I would like to do is to be able to, you facilitate in the selection of Geo and Associates. What I would like to do is have 2 members from your commission, and we will have 2 from our side. And what I'd like to be able to do is that whenever they send us anything or need requests on people that should be the right people at the right meetings, as the stakeholders, that I can call and convene this group. So I would certainly hope maybe if you would like to participate or if you would like to select 2 members from the.
Well, definitely I would, but any volunteers, anybody that has time? I think we'll go with that. Okay, so you get
Commissioner,
your
we won't be burning up a lot of time, but, you know, the meetings will be called, and mainly, most important thing will be that we have the right stakeholders as the meetings progress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, move on that. Now, Geo was receptive to that, okay? Everything's fine with
Yeah, they
everything
were,
we had? I know we had some questions and stuff.
Geo has proven out to be everything we hoped for.
Oh, good. Good.
Chairman, they had already done a tremendous amount of homework and stuff. And so they asked and looked at the same questions. What are we? Railroads? Are we 66? You know, what are we? Cowboy? What are we? And so their experience, I think, was in Arizona was a good choice for us because they've worked with communities our size and stuff, and they're Arizona-based company. So that's been very convenient on the travel side, on the expense side. So.
Yeah.
Okay, also, I wanted to just briefly update you on the planning and zoning, because it is important. As you know, this is a 2-year process, and Sylvia was certainly helped shepherd this. And so we have worked with Lisa White Consulting. They had their first public meeting about a week ago. I know Commissioner Sexto was there, and it was the idea behind that meeting was to inform everybody about the steps that they will be taking. They also educated us on form-based, zoning, and then they walked us a little bit into the design and look at what a historical overlay program could look like. And the one thing I always like to take a moment is to understand that, number one, the first and most important phase will be the updating of the regulations. That will take probably over a year and a quarter at least. The next phase will be the addressment of the sign code, and ours is in desperate need there. The third item will be helping us, they're going to help us design and put into play a plan if and when we need it for a historical overlay. So I just kind of want to make sure that everybody understands this is not forcing anything down anybody's throats. It's the idea of what it can look like. We will have the tool in place when it's time. We had a meeting here with Congressman Gosar, and it was on opportunity zones. And I know that Bennett I've asked him to expound a little bit on our brochure and what we have already done. I was happy to say at that meeting that we were already a couple of steps ahead. So this is already done, and it is on the website. We were able to, we have been talking a long time to our friends at the Arizona Association of Economic Developers, and we got a call about 2 weeks ago that they are interested in having one of their rural roundtables in Kingman. So the nice part about that is that it brings anywhere from 75 to 100 economic development folks here. So we will be the primary sponsor on that. We'll probably be looking for a little bit of help in a couple of other areas, but this is good for Kingman. And then the other thing that we are working on right now is, as you know, was the economic development strategy. We will be developing a reporting procedure and a checkoff list so that we keep both you, the consul, and the city manager informed. And so we have another meeting tentatively set up for next week to begin to work on that reporting process. I'm going to ask Bennett to expound a little bit, but we also submitted to Arizona Association of Economic Developers 2 projects, and hoping for consideration of what they call their Golden Prospector Award. We are now a finalist. So we are excited about that. We'll certainly know more about it next week or so. If we are awarded, I think the chances look pretty darn good. This will actually happen towards the end of October. So, the other thing I wanted to update you on, I had the opportunity to work with Scott Dutton and Alvin over at ADOT, and then with Steve over at the county roads, and we did a drive, I guess a driving tour, and looking at all the signage on the highways, in, out, every place, and just what was it marking Old Route 66. And what we found was that what we have all seen, extremely poor. So they came back with a price, and they looked at it, and at first there was that hesitation, but I think it's always nice when you got somebody certainly in the car from the private sector. They can voice maybe a stronger opinion. And so they came back with a price. It's been lowered substantially, and Alvin just sent us an email that they are working on an IGA now for partners on this, but they were able to drop the price from $84,000 down to $20,000, and still achieve everything that we wanted to achieve in the way of signing.
So that covers Shinnerup Road and all that?
Yep, it's all included in that. We actually went out to Shinnerup. The thing is, I think we could have certainly multiple partners in this no matter what, because it's a benefit to Oakman. You know, it puts all the right signs in the right places instead of just sending you off to 66 business, route or whatever. So I'm really glad that it has come along as good as it has. So that's really kind of my stuff in a nutshell. And with that, I would like to do is turn it over to Bennett, and he will.
I got a question
Yes.
on a couple things you said. That economic development roundtable, I think every one of us should be included in that. Maybe we notice it as a meeting or whatever, so the whole commission can come.
I think
it'd be beneficial.
It is open. Okay, we will then. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes.
Yeah, any
their
open
meetings are
meeting law
closed.
we'd
Okay.
have to do it, so,
We'll post it.
okay.
Yeah, there is a cost, but it is open to the public.
Okay,
Any other
thank you.
questions? Okay.
Okay, next we have item B, a report from Bradley Bennett about the industrial park, and I'm sure he's gonna be talking to us for about 2 hours, right? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Gene, commissioners. So I want to talk to you, I put on in front of you a little packet of a recent study that's been completed of the industrial park and the airport. It's an economic impact study, and I just wanted to hit on when you open it up, the second, or be the back of the first page, just some of the highlights of that study. This study can also be downloaded from our website. Right here, if you see under the business environment, we have reports and plans. All our reports and plans and items that we've worked on or will be working on can be downloaded. Just right here, you just click on it. So that is, this is how the document will come up online. So if we look at that page, you got, we'll just go through those bulleted points. For the Kingman Municipal Airport and Industrial Park combined to create a total economic impact of $574 million in the Kingman and Mojave County region for FY 2018. This included impacts from the airport administration offices, on airport businesses, and the short line rail that operates out there at the airport. Also included the 70 businesses that are operating on the industrial park side, and those just those 70 businesses created $406 million per year, and it was approximately 2,600 employees, which we discussed that number a few times over past meetings. The industrial park businesses support an additional $134 million of economic impacts and approximately 1,100 jobs at other businesses in the county and through the local spending that is arrived from those businesses that are out here. So those are indirect or induced impacts that come just from us having those businesses. That's another, so that when you add that all up, it's a total economic impact of $541 million just on the industrial park side. There are about 125 full-time and part-time employees working at the Kingman Municipal Airport. This also includes the city employees and those employees on 12 businesses that are on the airfield side. And that creates a total impact of another $22.7 million from those employees. The city and other airport businesses make local purchases, creating indirect and induced impacts of another $6.7 million. Employees at the airport also make local consumer purchases, generating an additional $3.9 million. The annual induced impacts in the Mojave County region. Local employees' purchase also has contributed to an economic impact, which estimated at $33.3 million. So the full report's there. If you guys get time, please go through that, and then you can reach out to my office for any questions on that. And if you have anything right now, I can try to answer it on that. Gary mentioned a little bit about the Opportunity Zone prospectus. And so this is a document that was recently completed, and you don't have that in front of you, but I have it up on our website right here. And you could download this document. So what we did is we took 3 sites in the Kingman region, and we ran a prospectus on maybe an investor that might be looking to take advantage of an Opportunity Zones project in our community, the type of return they could get at a retail site versus maybe an industrial site. And the industrial sites are going to be a lot different than the retail sites, is the way it came out. And in talking with some industrial businesses, I talked to one the other day, existing business, potentially looking to expand. They have capital gains, they're cash rich, so they put them in the stock market. They're looking to expand, and so they have to, in order to qualify, you have to reinvest that money into a new project of some kind. So if they come out and they build and they add on to their facility, they have to double the investment to what their existing facility is worth in order to qualify for that. So they're looking at things like that. So this program would qualify for a project like that. The rate of return's not going to be as big when we looked at the industrial sites, but for existing users or maybe a user that is actually going to use the facility, they can still benefit if they have those capital gains invested in other areas that they could pull out and use.
They can use that money to do an Opportunity Zone, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So as you go through this report, we've got things that we highlight, of course, in regards to our region, our proximity to market. We talk about the Kingman Airport. We hit on all the highlights about the park, how many acres we have. Just a lot of the details, and we can use this document in a lot of marketing efforts because we don't have to recreate a lot of the stuff that we're putting together today. So when we get businesses that are looking right now, I'll take some of the stuff from these various documents and plug it into it when I'm talking with businesses looking. This is where we talk about the industrial park and some of the main features that we have out there. We talk about our businesses that we have, and so a lot of times you just hit on, Cantex is out there, and a lot of people don't know what businesses we have, and so the more we can promote it and push it and create some documents that have that, the better off we're going to be. Just a little highlight about the Opportunity Zones as an overview. You can go online, you can get all this stuff if somebody's going to do some research. But and then we hit on our map of the 3 locations that we've pointed out here. We've got 2 sites we looked at, which are our sites out in the industrial park, and 1 commercial site or retail potential opportunity there. This map here, this thatch mark is all the Opportunity Zones. So any properties, whether it be these properties or any other properties, they would qualify. as long as they're located in this mapped-in area. And then we highlighted the Kingman Industrial Park out here, the blue. We went into detail about what our sites have, so somebody looking says, okay, well, what's the water like? What are the utilities? Where are they at? There's a lot of the information that you don't get to go out and get right away. We've got it all ready to go. Talk about the amount of the acreage, you know, the minimum lot size, the height requirements, the setbacks. We go into some employment data around those properties, type of workforce we're looking at within a certain miles. And then just basically talking about, in this case, we called it aviation/manufacturing, just to kind of spur some interest that we are, you know, looking. And then the retail, I'll jump to that quickly. It's a 30-some page document. So we go into the retail site, where the water lines are, the zoning. Again, all the details about what you can and can't do on that site. You know, the type of uses that are allowed. A little bit of market data within certain miles. Of course, you're going to get somebody who's really interested. They're gonna nail these down and get more specific on these type of things, and we'll work with them on that. But this is to start the conversation. Talk about the visitor market a little bit. The document. Opportunity for hotel. Just laid out a scenario. Good rate of return, 17.8% on this project. 6.3% on a restaurant scenario. We talked about our five-year capital improvements that we're looking to. So we're basically trying to show the investor that the city's investing or looking to invest in the community, and you know, the growth that we're looking to get. Some incentives, you know, at the local level. We talk about that. And then just hit on some highlights, some quick stats that somebody can grab. So any questions about that report?
Yeah, can you go back to the opportunity zones? You had 1, 2, and I didn't realize where number 3 was.
The map?
Yeah, on the map.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're right here?
Yeah. Number 3, it seems like it's
That's
on
star
Stockton
there.
Hill?
It's right by the Beverly, Stockton Hill area there.
Oh, okay,
You got the park is right in that area.
okay.
So that we looked at a hotel retail component on that site.
There's a large property there, okay. That's what I thought, I just wanted to make sure. And the other
No-
2 are out closer to the airport, right?
What's that?
The other 2 are out closer
Yeah,
to the airport?
they're actually the airport properties that the city has
Okay.
out there.
All right,
Somebody have a question?
did you have something, Mary? What'd you do?
Another way to access some kind of neat things that we did on our website in regards to the opportunity zones is, you know, you can access it quickly through there. You know, somebody's going to our site through the site selection process. You got opportunity zones mentioned right here. But if you just were to click on that, start looking at it, and you click here, it takes us right to the prospectus. So somebody can quickly get some information about those zones. We also have a link here for a map, which goes into our GIS platform, and it highlights the where the opportunity zones are. Some kind of layers that we created. You'd have to mess around to get in there, but we did some local data layers where you can click on our 3 sites that we did in the prospectus. And if you hover over that and you were to click on that, it pulls that property up. You can click on that, and it takes us back to the prospectus where it talks about that property. Another, let's see, kind of neat thing that you can do. There it is. I also put all the city-owned properties, and I probably showed you this before. You know, all this stuff out at the industrial park, the land sales that I work on, you can access them by clicking on that, and you can zoom in, look and say, oh, I didn't realize, you know, the city had these parcels available. We recently sold this parcel, it's already been taken off, and we've sold this parcel. We sold two parcels since taking over operations, and we currently have one other property that we've got an application on and an appraisal order for. So as the properties are sold, we do get them off of this, and you could believe, you can scroll in a little bit, it tells you how many acres on the parcel are on that. And then just for information, I put my phone number there so they can call me if they have other questions about that. So that kind of hits on the opportunity zones and some other information. I want to talk real quickly about the economic development website that we've been kind of going through. This is the site that was submitted for the Golden Prospector. We also submitted a marketing brochure, but it was the site that actually is one of the finalists. So this site is you know, going to be presented in October. I believe it's the 24th or 5th, 24th, and the hopes is that we could get an award for this. The site's very user-friendly. We've had a lot of positive comments back on how you can get to different areas depending on what you're wanting to do and get to. So we got a lot of data, a lot of information on this site, and we just keep adding to it. You know, we're always updating it as we get reports in, different links, making sure the links aren't linking to the wrong locations, because that happens when you have websites. They constantly, you're maybe linking to another organization at the county or the chamber, and stuff changes. So you always got to be in there making sure that the links are up to date.
I have one question. What are you guys currently doing for outbound marketing for these types of things? How are you getting this site in front of people? Or is it right now kind of inbound?
It's right now inbound, to be honest with you. We've been so busy. Personally, I haven't had time to focus on outbound marketing. That's something I'd really like to do. But we haven't been able to, you know, that's on the list.
I was going to say, that's one of the things that Geo and Associates is going to help with, is the outbound marketing, or just the branding aspect?
I don't know if they're going to have that as a
I
component.
believe it was, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's, you know, getting this out in front of people, pop-ups, whatever it might be, you know, as we have that budget put in, and then where we're going to do it. Right now, it's, they're going there and they're calling us just from, you know, doing Google searches.
Right.
It's a site any point break free and then get to that.
So,
And we see, and you have analytics built in, so you see how much traffic
Yes.
is coming to it?
yeah,
where the
it
traffic's
does.
coming
I didn't
from.
bring any of that with me, and I don't know if we're, you know, I don't know what those numbers are going to really look like yet,
Right.
besides me going in a lot to tweak things and things. So
Okay.
my computer's probably going to show up quite a bit on
Right.
that.
Okay.
But another thing hit on here is, so we have this economic development site. We've also been tasked and wanted to do update to the airport portion, the airport website. The users out there really pushing that. So we're headway into that process. I'm the project manager on that as well. And then we've got a committee together, and they're very much involved. Probably I'm getting them more involved because I want to make sure that you know, I'm not a professional in the aviation side, and we want to make sure we get everything covered on that. So we're basically, we've got the whole site map put together. They're probably going to do some tweaking to that. We've got design ideas. We've got layout. We've got our first conference, our second conference call tomorrow with the web design team. We're going to stick with the same company as this, because there's a lot of back-end stuff when you go in and do changes. That whether it's me that's here in the future, anybody, staff and our IT people, they're able to go in and make the changes, and we don't have to relearn a new website background and everything. So, you know, we're gonna look to design and develop a really professional airport website as well. It's probably, the launch date on that, I believe, is late January. You know, it's a process when you're doing these sites. So that's where we are on that. You know, a lot of time goes into some of that stuff. Gary talked a little bit about the roads grant. We are in the process of getting RFPs together for engineering firm on that. And I'll just kind of show you real quick. I had this up. Let's see. So out at the industrial park, you have East Transport Drive right here. If you see can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay. This road, or I'm sorry, it's this road right here. This is Mojave Airport Drive. This road right here is included from here to here, from here to here, Government Way, and then Eastport Way from here to here. These roads are in terrible condition. They're basically mixed some asphalt, dirt, gravel. You gotta go really slow to drive on this road. And we have buildings, like this building right here is I believe it's right around a 40,000 square foot building that's used for storage, transportation, distribution that True Value leases. And the only access is on these terrible conditioned roads. So that grant is gonna be used to build these. And so we're moving forward with that. We're working with the county, we're working with the city, Public Works, and then our staff as well. We have a $275,000 grant. We have a certain amount of match that we have to do. The grant doesn't cover engineering costs. So with anything, finances are, you're looking to save, and so we're trying to do this project as efficiently as we can. So I think we're making a good progress on that. Another project we're working on is a chip seal project so we've got new road going to be built here. These roads, and another thing about these roads is they're not in what's called the county maintenance system. So the reason they got so bad was because there was no mechanism to repair the road as it got worn out. So 40 years ago they were built, and they were never, no chip seals, no maintenance was ever done on them. So the concept was when we got in there, we wanted to put these roads into the county maintenance system, which would mean a request to the county board of supervisors. They'd have to approve it. So that's a whole process. Well, part of that process in dealing with the county, they had staff look at these roads, and they said, staff, come back to us and let us know whether we should take these in, or if we're going to take them in, what condition do we, what would we require? And so after dealing with staff, they said we would need to put a chip seal on this road here and this road. So if we do two new roads here and a new road here, you've got two more roads that aren't part of the county maintenance system, which could be a problem in the future. So we went ahead and talked with county staff, and we put in our budget to do a chip seal on here, and the rock is actually sitting out here already. And the end of October, we're going to start the chip seal project for this road, or this section of Transport Drive, this section of Government Way. Windrose Lane has also never been put into the county maintenance system. We have this company here is Shelves, which do all those totes that you see in Home Depot. If this road goes bad someday, there's no mechanism, and that's not good if you have a business there. So this road is going to be chip sealed, and then Interstate Way has also never been put in the maintenance system, and that's going to be chip sealed. We'll probably do Silva coming down into here in a dead end. We'll chip seal that as well. So it's those type of projects that we're looking to kind of tie all these, this whole project together in the next 6 months so we have 18 months under the grant to finish it, which we don't expect that to be an issue.
Benny, you want to tell them just a bit about the partnership you had on the roads?
Yeah, so the partnerships with the county,
And the private sector.
and there was some private sector investment as well. that's been committed. We had about $10,500 in private money that's been committed that when we wrote the grant, we went out and talked with business owners that would be affected, and they want to see this stuff done because they've been there a long time and they're excited about things that we're working on. So yeah, we've had private sector, public sector all come together to make this happen.
And that was the $200,000 grant?
275.
Oh, 275.
Yep. So I'll just really quickly hit on rail. Rail in August of 2018, we had about 144 switch cars and 744 cars stored. That was 2018. So this August, we had about 122 switch cars, 647 cars stored. So it was a little drop over last year's numbers, but I haven't been able to reach out and see if there's any effect to that. What's the difference? I'd rather look at a whole for like a year after it gets done and see, things go up, things go down, but where are you at the end of the year? Because things are always changing on that. And then we're always actively marketing in regards to signage and putting together RFPs for projects that come in directly to us, projects that come into the state, and then we work on them. We've got an RFP or what's called a PIF, a project information form, that comes in through the state, and then we have to actually go through that PIF and put together all the requirements that they're looking for and submit it back. And I already mentioned we do have another land sale that we're working on. That came directly to us from all of our activity. So all of the land sales that we've had right now, they've called us directly, been around the park, and me just building those relationships at the local level. We get, 80% of your workforce gains come from our existing employers, hiring new employees and growing. So we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to make them want to continue to operate there and stay here. And I think that we've been doing a really good job of that. I haven't heard any complaints. And I've actually talked with businesses that have come over, and I've explained what we're trying to do with roads and stuff. And they've told me, even if you don't get it done, the fact that you're trying and the fact that the city's doing what they're doing is appreciative. So that's good to hear. So with that, that's my update. Any questions?
I bet you ask 100% of the people in the city, how many employees are out to the airport, and they'd probably not even come close to that figure.
Yeah.
2,600 employees means 2,600 maybe potential homeowners and sales tax money from what they spend, and
Well, this document is really nice to be able to, you get big businesses and they wonder and they're concerned, well, can you provide the workforce?
right.
Well, this is a document we can point to that, yeah, we have big businesses out here that we provide a workforce for in this community, and here it is. And you won't be the only business out here. You've got a lot of people that are successful operating and distributing from here, and so you could be one of those as well.
Well, potentially, that's where a lot of our economic income is going to come from, is out there. I think that's probably the fastest growing segment of the city, right?
Of the
economic impact.
Yeah, the economic drivers of the wages.
Yeah.
The more wages, the higher the wages,
Right.
the better for our city. The more tax revenue we get from the sales tax and the growth.
Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was a good report. Okay, we got a report on tourism. Josh Noble from the Powerhouse.
Thank you, Chairman Kirkman, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. So I don't have a digital presentation to give you this time, just some updates on things that we've been having going on. Year-end figures for the fiscal year. Our visitation was up 44% year over year, 189,954 compared to 135,949 last year. So far, the first 2 months this year, we're tracking 49% over what we were doing last year. Buses, motor coaches, 1,487% over what we did year before. In 2019, we had 1,603 buses, and in 2008, fiscal year 2008, 497. So far, we're tracking 17% up for the first 2 months this year. Gift shop sales, 43% increase year over year with a 55% profit margin. Fiscal year 2019, we had 272,472 in sales compared to 190,310 last fiscal year, or the fiscal year prior. So far for the first 2 months, we're tracking 17% up. You'll notice that number's not quite as much up, 17% so far compared to the other two, but we're still bringing full staffing on, and when we get more staffing in, that's going to help us to better keep everything stocked. Some updates with the powerhouse, our building improvements. We did replace the plexiglass and tore out all the old images at the Ramada at the end of our parking lot in June. We had Lexan put in. It's a higher resistant, higher impact resistant glass. It doesn't crack from the screws, so it should last a much longer time. This is something we plan on working with Kingman Main Street and their Vista to co-op in putting new information that can help market and direct people throughout town. We rekeyed the entire facility under the recommendations of the fire department. There were several different areas that all had different keys, and there was a lot of confusion. If there was an emergency, how would they find the right keys that went everywhere? So we had to change out some locks, rekey 40-some doors in the facility, and it's made our ability to get through the building and our assessment for safety a lot better.
There's a lockbox outside too, right?
There's a lockbox,
Yeah.
correct, for the fire department to get into the building. We just recently added a JuiceBox Pro 40C. That's an electric vehicle charging station that has a 40 amp capacity. We actually had a donated piece that was given to us from one of the members in Tucson, and we put that up in June. It only lasted a few weeks. It had some bugs in it. It was an old system. So we bought this new one since we already had the infrastructure in place to put a new unit in, and we were seeing activity on PlugShare, which is a website that EV drivers use to find where they can charge. We were also seeing physically, just watching the unit, quite a bit of use. So we've put this new unit in. It's going to allow us to do several things because it is a commercial grade and a brand new piece. We're going to we'll be able to set the times that people can go up and charge so that we're setting up to when our hours of operation are, or a little bit of leeway around that so they can go to the restaurants in the downtown area, eat, visit the museum, and spend a little bit of time while their vehicle is charging. It'll also allow us to track the usage so we can see how many people are using it. We could even cap if we decide that a car should only get so many kilowatt hours, then we can do that. It will also allow us in the future, if we so choose, to charge for electric. So this doesn't have to be just an investment into the property, but it could be a future revenue source if we see quite a bit of traffic out of it.
So right now charging is,
I'm sorry?
right now charging is free?
Right now, charging would be a courtesy to our visitors that are coming to the visitor center and the museum and our downtown restaurants. Correct. And of course, that would be limited access hours to when we're open. So we're not going to have it open all night so people can come in and they can charge outside of the use of the building and outside of when our restaurants are open around us. The museum had a contractor come in and repaint all the railings of the lower hall. As people leave the museum, it's much crisper and better looking through that area. The Route 66 Association of Arizona began the renovations earlier this month, and that should be complete early in October. And we've also started renovations with the office space upstairs. This includes a new emergency exit, which is something the fire department asked us to do. So the only exit to the upper mezzanine was through that office space, and they wanted to have that rerouted, so we needed to cut some space out of there so we could make an available exit through the mezzanine that you don't have to go through an office. You can just cut right out and get out of the building in an emergency situation. And we also added our visitor center as Arizona's newest official lotto location. So this does a couple things. Automotive coaches that are coming in, people don't have the ability to go to any location and get lotto tickets. So this is an opportunity, it's a courtesy to them. It's also a revenue source for us. There is a commission on these sales, and this is a partnership with the state. So this is something that we're at least gonna try for a quarter if we're not seeing enough revenue out of it to make sense for it to, we have a lot of staff time with the finance department as well as staff time with our department in keeping this going. But yesterday we did about $900 of sales out of the machine. So it looks like it's picking up, and it's gonna be something that's good for us and good for revenue source.
Hey, Josh, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Placement of that banner was bad.
So we have a whole mess of projects that we're going to be working on. One of them is replacing our entry sign. So the banner, the sign, all of that's going to change. Gary and I talked about it, and we agree with you.
Okay.
We're going to remove that probably today, if not today, this week, and it will be pulled down. And it was only meant to be up for a few weeks anyways, so it served its time.
Okay.
The Arizona Office of Tourism has their marketing cooperative, which we again participated in this year. This is up to $50,000 in marketing. Although this year they changed the program to not only have marketing, but also to have some research and resource tools, which we're taking advantage of. So some of the marketing that we're doing is in print. We're continuing with the Grand Canyon Journal. This is a piece that's distributed for people that are taking itinerary tours around the Grand Canyon. Also comes with some lead service. The Arizona Drive Guide spring issue. This goes out in Phoenix area rental cars, so people that are coming in to the state through, they're flying into Phoenix, then they have information about what there is to do in the state. Arizona Drive Map, the 2020 and 2021 issue. There's about 500,000 that are printed and distributed for people that are looking around, getting around the state. And then we're also doing an outdoor, this is a Clear Channel display ad at the San Diego Airport on Terminal 1. This is in February and March, particularly because a lot of our Chinese visitors are coming in through those gates in California airports, and we want to try to hit more of those coming in and let them know about what we have in Kingman and Route 66. Digital, we have Viant digital geo-targeted video. This is going to October through July of 2020. We also have Mad Media digital media distribution. That's going to be on YouTube. That's October through March of 2020. And we have Huddled Masses. And I don't have a whole lot of background on where all these distributions are going, but just to give you an idea, some of these aren't setting up for a while. But Huddled Masses is going to be really targeted behavioral and retargeting to visitors that are interested or people that are looking at Arizona and try to target Kingman directly to that. November and December of this year, March, April, and May of next year. And then Brand USA Road Trip. So Brand USA is the organization that markets the entire country to our international visitors. And this is a real great opportunity for us to highlight videos that are showcasing what we have in this area through their network. It's a pretty big part of the package. Some tools and research. So we did apply to do a branding and kind of an overall assessment study with Local First Arizona to optimize our advertising dollars. Uber Media mobile location data. This is one we're real excited about. This is going to use mobile data as phones that pick up in different areas across the country. When they pick up in this area, it's going to let us know where they're coming from on route into here. So we're going to have a real good idea of who's actually coming into here, where they're starting from, what routes they're taking. It'll help us line up some of our marketing in the future. We also have Miles Search Marketing. This is an audit of the website for better Google search engine optimization. And then another big one is CrowdRiff. And I'm sorry I don't have a demo at this meeting, but we'll have one at the next meeting after we get the festival and some other things behind us. This is a very good opportunity for us to pull, mostly from Instagram, but images from social networks. And then we can use those images to put displays galleries on different pages on our websites. We can also partner with other entities in Kingman. So if Main Street wanted us to build one for them to put on their homepage or a certain page, if Economic Development Group wanted to do different pictures at the airport, we just build galleries and those auto-populate and you just plug them right into the website like you would a YouTube video, so it's in an iframe. The other thing that you can do is if you've been in airports or different conventions where you'll see a big screen TV and they have a bunch of photos that kind of go through and they'll change around and show you different things that the product has or the location has. We can create a photo wall like that. We also have the ability to request for rights for redistribution and reuse of those images from the people who have put them in. And there's about a two-thirds of the time they actually give you the rights to use those, and so you can use them for reprinting, reposting on social, using for the images on your website. The nice thing about this is these aren't staged pictures. They're not pictures we had to take time out and go with staff. They're pictures that are recent, smiling faces, real experiences. So this is going to be a huge game changer for us with our digital presence and with helping other partners in Kingman, as well as the Office of Tourism. They're going to be utilizing the images that we select and we say this represents Kingman. Those are the ones that they'll use for their CrowdRift subscription. Last thing I wanted to give you an update on is the Arizona Office of Tourism, Kingman Tourism, Mojave County Historical Society, and China Luxury Advisors, a consultancy. We teamed together to run a survey with our Chinese travelers that were coming through and stopping at the powerhouse. We did this over an 81-day stretch from June 11th through August 30th, and we reached about 2,800 Chinese travelers. There was a 72% response rate, so we had received 2,066 surveys. This is a huge number of surveys for one market. Just as a comparison, in 2010-11, we worked with 12 other locations around Kingman over a 12-month stretch, and we collected about 1,800 surveys. So to do in 80 days, over 2,000 surveys, gave us a lot of really good data. And this lets us know where they're flying in from, their age range, what sort of activities and attractions they're interested in doing. Lets us know where they're staying the night. So for instance, from that, we found that 27% of these Chinese visitors were overnighting right here in Kingman. We also found that about 80% were self-drive, and we thought that can't be the case. It's so many motor coaches coming in. We see a lot of Chinese travelers on it. So we actually took our posters and we put them in the restrooms to try to see if we couldn't get more of the people on the motor coaches that didn't see all the signage, because there was through the huge masses and so many of them used the restroom, and the number didn't change. So we actually had found that quite a few of our visitors that were coming through were self-drive, which means they have the independence, the ability to change their travel plans, make decisions, stay longer, eat where they want to eat. So we thought it was a really good thing for our downtown, because it gives us an opportunity to figure out how do we get those travelers to go into the downtown and experience what we have more. Also, how they researched. So we found that 9% were researching by social, and this is really great for us because we do have a Weibo account, a WeChat account. So we do have an account out there that's managed and is giving information on what there is in Kingman. So we're hitting some of that market. 19% found information. They were looking at the DMO site, so that could be our website, the Office of Tourism site, whatever site that they're actually going to. But so much of the rest of it is through mostly the Chinese online tour operators. It's like their TripAdvisor, Ctrip, and different sites. So we're really trying to find ways that we can better put our message on those platforms as more people are getting information about what we have. Some of the drive-through, 72% LAX, 42% Las Vegas. Compare that with 2% Phoenix. Even 9% were indicating New York. So much of our traffic is coming in from California, and then they're driving in or taking a motor coach or whatever they're doing. So we're really trying to figure out how can we market more to the people, this Chinese market that's coming in through California. Some of the other key findings were that more than 80% of the travelers were between the ages of 25 and 59. So it gives us a real good age range that we want to look at marketing to those people. And look for a press release coming out on this in the coming weeks. It's something that we do want to get out and let everyone know so that they can also adjust their marketing plans to try to figure out how to tap into this market. And one last thing, we have Andy Divine Days Festival this coming weekend. Please come out to it. We've got 8 strong core committee members from tourism, public works, engineering, KPD, and parks that have all been working on very, very hard at putting this on. I have some flyers and posters over here. I know right now we're looking at Saturday. It looks like we're going to have some high winds, so we are putting some contingency plans together. Last year we had to put the inflatables down for quite a bit on Saturday, and we don't want to do that again. So we're working with the vendor to change out some of those inflatables with things that aren't affected by the wind, so we can still have activities going on downtown, fun things for the kids to do, whether we have the wind or not. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Oh, one other thing, I just wanted to give these out to you. With the governor's conference, this was the report for the state. I want to pass those down. Over the calendar year
You got one,
2018.
Travis? Okay. Well, thank you. Well, you got something,
I just
Steve?
have one, the Instagram, like, image propagation thing, is that like a plugin for the website?
Groundriff, so
Groundriff.
there's actually a whole platform, and we go into the platform to search, create boundaries that we want to look for images, and that could be by hashtags, it could be by business accounts. We have partner business accounts. We've pulled in Rickety Crickets, Blackbridge, the farmhouse. We've pulled those in so we can search through those. And then through that, we go and we tag and we throw them in different assets that we can use to either plug in on a website or put on a photo wall, or we just have a list of images that we have rights to that we can use for redistribution. So it's a whole online platform. There's quite a bit of training that myself and other staff have started going through. We have a little bit more training on it, but we've already started to use it to build these photo walls and to kind of get a feel for how it's going to work. It's something that we tried to do 3 years ago when we redid our website in 2016, and they started to populate
Yeah,
in, and
I
then
remember seeing that.
about a year later, Facebook had the
API
they had to
change
go
or
to
something?
Congress, and they had to change everything, and with that, all the permissions changed, and our old plugin no longer worked. That plugin was about $5,000, only lasted us a year, but this new one is about $4,200, and we're gonna have to do it every year if it's something that we find value in. So it's something we really wanna see, is this something that is gonna bring us the value? And I think it will, because if I were to bring on another staff person to have them to manage, going out and grabbing pictures and trying to, this would displace doing that. And I know Office of Tourism, they believe strongly in it, so our $4,200 is only covering half the cost. The Office of Tourism pays the other half. So Phoenix is involved, as well as Tucson and Flagstaff. I think when I'm looking at some of the other successful communities that have more staff and they're making the decision to do this, I think that's a smart investment for us as well.
Okay, and then only one other question, and then you might have said it, I just didn't hear it. At the overall walk-in traffic, what was the percentage of the origin? Like, where were they coming from?
Oh, where are they coming from? Sure.
Who is the highest
About 60% is domestic. And just off the top of my head, I think Canadian was about 8-9%, then Chinese about 7-8%, and then you have UK, France, Germany after that.
Okay. And then as part of your print strategy, do you have the ability to swap or change? Like, for example, the AZ Drive, the rentals that you said is out of Phoenix. And then when you did the surveys of the Chinese, only 2% were actually arriving in Phoenix. Do you have a way
Right.
to change that? Like, to, instead of doing that particular printed,
So I'd love to
campaign?
do the one out of Las Vegas. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the reason they don't, because just as kind of a background, they had a similar, what we're doing in San Diego with having a display board at the exit terminal at the airport. So they had a similar one down in Phoenix, and we did it one year, and we said, I'm not sure we're getting anything out of this. We'd like to do this in Vegas. Can you put that in the next one? So they put that in the next one, which was last year's, and it was about $20,000 for us to participate, which would have been, our portion, yeah. So it would have been 40% of our entire budget to do 1 month. And
Okay.
we said we just
So it's a
can't
cost
justify
thing.
that.
Okay,
So I
gotcha.
think the drive guide out of Vegas is probably outside of the budget of what they're willing to look at least putting it out for most communities.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the communities in Arizona aren't on the Las Vegas circuit like we are. We're a little bit different than the rest of the state of Arizona. We're heavily influenced by Las Vegas
Mm-hmm.
and LA. And so we have to try and pick and choose out of those projects. That was actually a pretty inexpensive ad, the one out of the Phoenix Drive Guide, which is why we kept it. It has
Okay.
had some amount of success, but I think that's like an $800 ad versus, you know, the Grand Canyon Journal one's about $3,000. But that gets really right into our
Right.
wheelhouse.
With your domestic tourism, do you know which way they're traveling? Are they traveling east to west, west to east? Is that a question on the survey, or is that even really?
So that's something that we're hoping to find with the mobile data tracking. We
Okay.
have some
Oh, yeah,
sort of
Uber.
idea of what routes people are overall taking, because we did some hotel surveys and we're asking what attractions and what communities they're visiting. And so we know the general route. We don't always know, was it east to west or west to east, but that mobile data tracking is gonna give us real detailed information off of where they're coming from. I wanna say it was something like 70 million phones that they'll be tracking across the country, and they're gonna, you know, weed that down to who's coming and staying in Kingman.
That's good. So that'll help with any type of outdoor advertising, which you guys had mentioned. You know, you're looking at, you know, where they're coming from. How do we look from the outside as they're traveling east and west?
Right.
And what billboards and signage and stuff. Cool. That's all I have.
Okay, no other questions? Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay. Old business. We need a report from the tasks or force. Vice Chair and Mary, did you guys get to meet up at all and look at anything?
Yeah, we were not able to meet up, so we have a plan, so hopefully we'll be, definitely we'll be able to meet up before the next,
And what are you gonna be
Meeting.
looking at mostly? Downtown?
yeah, and we'll look at downtown.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to that report next month, or 2 months, I guess it is. Okay, thank you.
Chairman Kirkham, on that
Yeah.
one, you had mentioned to me, so, Mary, you're more than free to call us and we'll work with you. We always want to keep it at the 2 members thing, so we don't get into that,
Yeah, you sent me a request and I couldn't
Yeah.
respond because there was already 2.
yeah.
What
If
about
we
on-
get 3 of the members, then we're in that,
When we're in
that
that
whole
meeting.
public meeting thing, so, but we'll be happy, I'll certainly be happy to sit with the 2 of you or somebody. Okay, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, thank you. Next, well, we discussed the powerhouse. We're gonna discuss it again. I just wanna say that Commissioner Hinckley went out and got us this. I think we should be looking at this. I think that's what Gary's coming up with.
Well, what I would like to do again is, Chairman, if you would select 2 members, and then we will have on our side 2 and meet and go over this in detail. And so we would like to schedule something. I would like it to be in maybe a couple of weeks till we get through the festival and stuff,
Yeah.
so that both Josh and I and whoever else is on the city side has the time
Well,
to address this.
Commissioner Hinckley? He'll be gone most of October, but,
Well, it's spelled out pretty good here, so wherever else you would want to do.
so we'll ever,
So either way,
I will.
okay.
Sure.
So Commissioner Lucero will work with Commissioner Hinckley, and we'll focus on some of this.
Okay.
It's on the back of your packet. You got one. You should have. You have one?
No, that's okay. I'll get it.
Oh, no, you gotta have one.
no, there should be one there. There was one included with every packet.
Oh, there it is.
There it is, I'll see. Okay. Okay, and be ready to make a report in November, if you would? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Tina Moline has been very kindly sitting through the session.
I
but,
know, poor Tina.
You had a question specifically of me last time, and that was to talk about the bed tax funding. And so I approached Tina, as I thought that she certainly has a report for you on this subject, but nobody is better equipped than Tina to answer questions that may come up. So with that, our finance.
Okay, Tina, welcome. Tina's the number person, I'll tell you what. Every time you go up to the podium on the council meeting, I just,
It's always
Where'd she
about
get
the
that
numbers.
from?
I know, it's so boring sometimes.
okay, go ahead.
Hi, Chairman and Commissioners, Vice Mayor, and I see some new faces. I am Tina Moline. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Kingman. So thank you for the opportunity to come today and present to you. So as Gary said, he mentioned that there was some interest in the bed tax allocations, where they come from, and what we're doing with those monies. So just some background on our bed tax rate. So the City of Kingman imposes a 6.5% bed tax rate. 2.5% of that goes directly into the general fund. 2% goes directly into what we call tourism-related activities, so dedicated to those types of activities. And then the other 2% is dedicated to capital projects. Of each of those 2% allocations, they generated in fiscal year 19, and these are pre-audit figures, but about $585,000. So $585,000 for tourism-related activities, $585,000 for capital projects. So over the years, we have continued to, since 1986 is actually whenever the council adopted an additional 2% for tourism. So we continue to use those monies towards tourism-related activities. So for many years, we had the powerhouse that was operated by the Kingman Visitor Center. And so a portion of those monies would go to fund some of the powerhouse operations, also the Benelli House, the rodeo, things of that nature. And anything that was left over at the end of the year, we would continue to carry forward and use towards tourism-related activities. At the end of fiscal year 19, we expect to have about $1.2 million dedicated for tourism-related activities. Since we took on the operations of the powerhouse, which was in 2017, we supplement the activities of the powerhouse. It operates at a deficit. As Josh said, they've been doing phenomenal since they've come on board, actually more than doubled their revenues, but they're only generating under $300,000 in recurring revenues. And the department as a whole, for instance, in fiscal year 20, has a budget of over $1.1 million. So some of those tourism-related bed tax revenues are going to supplement the powerhouse. The other portion, or another portion, is also being used to fund part of the Economic Development Department. So a small percentage of their budget is used or is funded with some of those tourism-related activities. So we expect in the next 5 to 6 years that pot of money, and of course everything changes year over year, but based on our 5-year projections, we're expecting that $1.2 million will diminish completely. And at that point, we'll have to use general fund monies to supplement the powerhouse, unless of course they just boom and are able to operate at a profit. So that, I don't know if that answers your question from last meeting, Chairman?
Well, I was under the impression that some of that money was for, this commission was a combine of 2 different commissions, okay? They both had a budget. I've not heard anything about a budget for this commission. That's my question. Because I know we have stuff like ICSC, we have other places to go and stuff like that. Last year, no money. So I just want to make sure that this year a couple of commissioners get to go to that, and it's pretty important. I've been there several times, and it's really a learning experience. We made a lot of different touch base with a lot of people. Some of them came, some of them are waiting, some of them said, hey, we want to wait for Kingman Crossing. Well, guess what? The iron's hot, we got to get it. And that's really what my question was, is there a budget for this commission?
So every commission actually does have a budget in each of the departments that, for the staff liaison. So this particular commission does have a budget, and it is for those exact purposes, for traveling, attending conferences, and each commission's amount is slightly different. They range anywhere from about $5,000 to $7,000, but there's ample money for every one of you to attend any of the conferences that come up this year.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
That answered quite a few questions. Anybody else?
Well, so about $300,000, maybe just over with some interest and some other miscellaneous revenues. And again, their budget this year is $1.1 million. So we are expecting a contribution from those tourism-related monies of about $800,000 in fiscal year '20.
Okay, anybody else got any questions?
Could you go back over and make sure that, so the commission, again, that there's money pulled off for capital projects and stuff, so how that money is divided up on the bed tax, the 6.5%?
Yeah, so the 2% for capital projects and then 2% for tourism.
Right.
And the rest
And then
goes to-
2.5 for the
2% to
general fund.
Okay, so it's not that all that bed tax money is just being funneled back into tourism?
Oh,
Okay, so I just want to make sure, yeah.
I knew that when I asked the question. I
Okay,
just wanted
thank you.
clarification, and Tina gave us the skinny on that. Okay? Any other questions you got?
How much is funneled back into economic?
So 40% of their operating expenses, not taking into consideration Bennett's position, which is funded mostly from the airport.
And so that's inside the budget?
That is inside the City of Kingman budget, yes.
And so we would, if we wanted to go back.
Less any capital, less internal services, less Bennett's salary and benefits, and then that would give you the figure that we budgeted.
And tourism, how does that go? I mean, so economics have theirs and the general fund have theirs. So where does this go? Does it go to salaries? Does it go to supplies? Does it go to repairs?
Goes to all of it, yep.
So 800,000 is what will go to the powerhouse?
800,000 will go to the powerhouse. Of the 800,000 that the tourism dollars are contributing, the powerhouse is also generating its own revenue. So between the two, it's paying for the operations of the powerhouse.
Any other questions? I see none. Thank you, Tina.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Oh, we can't do this. Does anybody have anything today? Mr. Hinckley, anything? Mr. Hinckley? Yeah, okay. Mary, anything? Was there?
What do you mean anything?
What do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
I would like to talk about meeting once a month. There is so much going on economic-wise.
You know,
I mean, I attend the councils and I see, or, you know, I don't get it in mind, but I do, and I read, and I check out the agenda and I watch, and I just think there's so much more going on that we need to, I think 2 months is far away. I think if we're in, we're in.
I agree. All right, well, we came in with, we can't do any action on it. We can tell staff to look into it. Look into, I know we discussed this before, Gary, but look into it. With the stuff that's happening and the reports we got and stuff like that, I think we should look into it.
And I
Okay.
even agree with the way Josh presented. We don't necessarily need a PowerPoint type presentation, just bullet points and
Yeah.
then notes from the meeting and us taking notes is enough. So that way they don't have a lot more labor on their side.
But to be involved, because
Right.
as I move around and I see the presentations from different parts of the city, I see that I don't know anything. And, I like that. I wanna know. And I have responsibility there as well, and I appreciate all of the presenting. I think those are very
Okay.
important, but I just feel like we need to be on it more. And 2 months is too far apart for me. You know?
Okay, I'll hand it over to staff and they can let us know what they come up with. And Gary, I will meet with you sometime before the next meeting to, see what we can bat out. Okay. Is there anything else? Don't forget Andy Devine Days.